So for those of you that don't know, ASL is American Sign Language, and it is not the same thing as just signs for English-ish words. So ASL has its own sentence structure or its own grammatical rules. It's not the same thing as signed English. So the purpose of these videos is to help others learn some aspects of ASL grammar. So I'll be talking for most of them, but I'll always have the captions on, and I will give plenty of signed examples so that you'll hopefully be able to understand and what is being talked about and learn a little bit more ASL. So let's get started. So our first topic will be types of signs. So we'll talk about 5 different types of signs in this video. We'll discuss gender signs, iconic signs, compound signs, the agent or person affix, and then loan signs. The first type of sign that we're going to talk about are gender signs. Gender signs tend to be signed in specific locations, which make them easy to specify. So male signs tend to be in the forehead area, so man, father, boy, whereas female signs tend to be in the chin or cheek area, so woman, mother, girl. And this is important because the pronouns in ASL are the same. You make he and she by pointing, and so if you're talking about somebody that's not there, it's important to establish them, and that establishes their gender for the pronoun. So if I want to talk about my dad, who's not here, I would say my father, and I would establish him here so that then I could say he likes running. So the next type of signs are iconic signs, and iconic signs look like the word they're representing. So the example of this is swimming, because the ASL looks like the motion that people think of when you're swimming. And so iconic signs are generally signs that could be recognized by someone that doesn't understand any ASL. However, while researching for this video, I learned that some signs that don't seem iconic can actually have at their root iconic meanings. So the example of this is the sign for home, because home is where you eat and sleep, and so the motion and the placement on your face makes it a more iconic sign. The third type of sign is compound signs, and these are signs that are 2 separate signs put together that create a completely different meaning than either sign alone. And so an example of this is the sign for homework, which is the sign for home and the sign for work. So those are 2 separate signs, but when put together create the sign for homework. And then another good example of this is the sign for son, and like I have a son, and so that sign is boy and baby. So boy and baby are 2 separate signs, but when you put them together you get the sign for son. In English we do this as well. We have compound words that are 2 individual words put together create a different meaning. An example of this is the word cowboy, because cow and boy are 2 separate words, but you put them together and you get a person that lives on a ranch and rides horses. The fourth type of sign is the agent or person affix, and so that's just this. and this sign is added to say that someone does or is something. So an example of this is teacher. So it's a sign for teach, and then you add the person affix to get that ER to be the teacher. The final sign type that we are going to discuss today are loan signs, and loan signs are signs that are borrowed from a different sign language. So a great example of this is the sign for Chinese, an American Sign Language. And this sign was borrowed from Chinese Sign Language because it's their sign for China, after the old sign and for Chinese and American Sign Language was deemed inappropriate. So the new sign came from Chinese Sign Language, and that's an example of a loan sign.